Hey guys, today's the second video in a series about how to record your own music and produce it, and today we're going to be talking about Audacity. Audacity is a free DAW, that means Digital Audio Workstation. So basically if you Google it, it'll come right up on the main page. All you have to do is take the link that's on the main page of the Audacity website, download it to your computer. They have links for Windows, they have links for Mac. Any kind of computer you have will work with Audacity. So the main thing to know is once you get on the Audacity page and download the main program, go to the plugins on the right, go all the way down to the bottom where the last two sections are under libraries. These two are going to be really important to help you really use your Audacity. Depending on what you want to do with Audacity, there are some other programs and files you might need to download. So I'll put this link in the description. But these are basically all programs that are designed to work within Audacity to help you export and import different things, different kinds of files. So this LAME is one for MP3 files specifically. This one over here is things for other files that you might need, might run in contact with. Usually Audacity uses WAV files, but you can use some other things to export or import MP3s and some other files. So if you need to, you can find the links for Windows and Mac down here. Just find the link for the different program you want to use. It's really easy. It just might be an extra step for you to actually use your Audacity the way you want to use it. You can see right off the bat, if you've watched my video on Soundtrap, it looks a little bit more involved than that. It's not quite as well laid out as far as being able to see everything easily. So here's a few things you need to know. Here's the transport section like we talked about before. You have play, pause, stop, go back to the beginning, go to the end, and record. You'll have some different buttons here you can use for editing. We'll go over a couple of those, but this is going to be just a basic tutorial, so I'm not going to go over all these. This is going to be your playback volume level. This is going to be recording volume level, and you can see it's jumping around already because this is monitoring me as I talk into this microphone. This is your how to adjust the level. So this is the visual level. This is how to adjust the level of the playback, adjust the level of the recording, so the input of your microphone. These are all your different inputs and outputs over here, so just make sure when you do this that these are correct for your computer. There's some zoom over here, some undo, copy and paste, different kinds of recording input, and the input sync track over here. So first thing I would do if I was going to start recording, I would go to Generate, and I would go to Click Track. And what this is going to bring up is a menu of basically a metronome that's going to go in the background for as long as you want it to go. So I'm going to have this go for 48 measures, just to give myself plenty of space. And I've already figured out the tempo I want to use for this song. I'm going to just play a little bit of Jingle Bells here just to have something, because it's almost Christmas time. That's a nice song to play. So my tempo is going to be 176. I already typed that in. Everything else I'm going to leave how it is. You can change the sound of the metronome on here just like you can on the Soundtrap page I was using for my last video. But I'm going to leave it on everything else the way it is. Hit OK. And now you can see all of a sudden I've got 48 measures, and it has it in time up here rather than measures, but I've got 48 measures worth of click track in 4/4 time. So that's basically going to be my metronome that's going while I'm playing. Now the key to this, just like with using any kind of recording software, is to use headphones, because if you don't, as you record, you're going to also get the clicking in the recording, and you don't want the clicking in the recording. You only want the clicking in your ears so that you can record your own sound with no actual metronome in the background. So the next thing I'm going to do is record a little bit of a guitar part for you so you see how this works. Alright, you can see I've got way more than I need right here, but I like to add some extra beats before I actually start recording, just so I know I have enough space. You can always copy and paste this, or I think you can go in and make it longer if you need to, or just remake a new track, anything you want to do. I'm going to leave the click track as it is right now, because you can see at the beginning of this recording, there is no extra sound right here. This is just where I started right here. So you need to make sure if you're going to add another part to it like I'm going to, that you have some kind of tempo to start off with so you start at the same time. And I waited for 8 clicks of the metronome. So let's listen to this real quick. You might notice that the sound between the metronome click up here and my actual recording is a little bit off. So I'm going to zoom in just a hair. should see, well, we'll listen to it first. You can hear that the tempo is not exactly right. That's because as I play with this, there's a little bit of a lag between when I play the guitar and when it goes through the microphone and when it's actually recorded. So this is the beat. This is the big beat right here that you can see. And my first actual beat that's recorded does not start right on the first beat. So here's what I want to do. I want this to line up with this first beat. So I'm going to estimate for right now. We can fix this a little bit better later. But I'm going to start right here with the selection tool, which is already on. I'm going to click right at the beginning of my sound and drag over right about to where I can see the beginning of this start. And I'm going to hit delete on the keyboard. And it should line up a lot better now. Let's see if it's a little bit better. Yeah, that's much better. So basically I just deleted the lag time. And you can adjust for the lag time in the settings a little bit. If you adjust your microphone settings in here when you record to make sure that it has the lowest possible speed, like buffering speed, in between when you actually play and when the sound is recorded. This is just as easy for me, so I'm just going to do it this way. So now we've got this lined up. We still have our 8 beats. That's the reason I didn't delete all of this, because I still want to have these 8 beats for a count off for the next time I play something. Alright, so next thing I'm going to do is record a bass part to it. So I'm going to hit the record button again. Metronome go in the background. It's still going to play my guitar part right here, and it's still going to play the metronome part. It should line up. Alright, so we've got our bass line recorded now. The only problem with the bass line right now, there are two problems actually. First of all, we're still going to have to drag it over a little bit to get rid of the time at the beginning. So we're going to zoom in again, like we did before. Go to the beginning. I'm going to actually drag this track up one notch so that I can see a little bit easier versus the metronome track. I'm going to click right here again with the selection tool, drag it over, hit delete. And now you can see right here is the metronome mark, this is our bass part, and this is our guitar part. They all line up right at the beginning of that beat. Let's go ahead and rename this while we're thinking about it. So now we know what everything is. So let's zoom back out, make it easier to see. Now the other problem, I mentioned there are two problems. The other problem with the bass part is right now, if we listen to it, that's just a regular guitar in a guitar octave. So this is the same octave right now as the chord part, which means it's not going to blend, or it's going to blend a little bit too well. It's not going to sound like a bass part, like a bass melody like we want it to. So we're going to hit over here in this area just to highlight the entire track. And we're going to go to Effect. We're going to go to Change Pitch. Now some of these effects you may not have on yours right away, but you can find these online and download these from different people who make these effects specifically for Audacity. So we're going to go to Change Pitch, and here there's a whole bunch of options that you can do. You can change it by key if you know what key you're in or what note you're actually on. You can change it down by that. We're just going to use these semitones or half steps. And if you watched my last video, you remember we're going to go down 12 semitones, which is 12 half steps, which is a full octave. So we're going to go down one octave, hit OK, and this automatically shifts down one octave. So now if we play this, we're in the correct octave for a bass part. So let's listen to all this together minus the click track. We don't need that right now. Okay, not too bad. So next thing I'm going to do is record the melody part. I'm going to do it the exact same way. Now we just have to go back in. Let's rename this Melody, or Mel for short. Drag it up, just so it's easier to see. And I usually like to have my melodies on top anyway. Use our little tool here. Let's zoom in some more. Back to the beginning of the beat. Hit delete. Now it should line up. Not bad. Now normally I would try to take a long time to make sure everything works exactly in the beat and exactly on time, but for this it's kind of a fast and dirty version of it, so I'm not too worried about it. You can do other things if you want to, like you can isolate individual beats and you can kind of chop them out and move them back and forth if you need to, just to make sure they line up with what you want them to sound like, but for this example that's close enough. We've got all three parts written. We've got the melody part, chord part, and the bass part. That's all I'm going to do with these. So let's zoom out a little bit more just so we can see everything. I like to be able to see everything as much as I can. I'm going to go ahead and delete this click track because I'm not going to record any more parts. We don't really need any more parts. Let's listen to what this sounds like real quick. Alright, so right away I can tell, just doing a rough mix here, that this needs to be louder. The melody needs to be louder. So we're going to boost the melody up a little bit. I think the chords can even be a little softer. Let's see if we can adjust this a little bit as far as the panning goes. So I'll play it again. I'm going to start from right here. I'm just going to click on the timeline here. It'll start playing. I'm going to play with the panning a little bit to see if I can make the melody stand out a little bit more without having to make it louder. Alright, that's a little bit better. So, I'm going to go to Effects, I'm going to go to Reverb. Now this doesn't look as user-friendly, I guess, as the Soundtrap version and some other versions that I've used, but it'll do the same thing. So, let's see if it's a preview. Here's a preview right here. Based on these settings, let's listen to what they think it's going to sound like. That's a little bit much. And we don't want the volume to go anymore, so I think they've raised the volume some. So let's lower this a little bit. Lower the gain, that's the volume, another word for volumes in most cases. We're going to bring this down a little bit in the room size. We don't want it to be a huge echoey reverb, we just want a little bit of sound to it. Bring this down a little bit. Let's see that. It's a little bit better. I think the bass is still a little bit loud, but for right now we're going to use this. So we'll hit OK. It'll apply it to all three parts. You can see the volume on each one of these. The sound wave grew a little bit, which means the volume's a little bit higher. So, let's see if we can adjust all three volumes at the same time. No, we can't. That's okay. So we'll move each one of these down just a little bit. To compensate for that extra volume. Let's see what we have now. Yeah, that's not too bad. Still some tempo issues between the three parts, but like I said, this is just a rough version. So on all three of these, I want to take out all the stuff at the beginning. We don't need all this extra sound. We had the sound at the beginning so that we could have some count off whenever we recorded extra parts. But for right now, we don't need it. So we're going to click here at the beginning. Do it from the top. Click at the beginning of the first sound. And go all the way down, all three parts. So now we have all three parts selected right here. Let me close these a little bit so you can see them a little bit easier. So all I'm doing is shrinking down the tracks so you can see them a little bit. So we have all three parts selected right before the first sound that we have. Hit delete just like we did earlier. And now all the parts start right at the beginning. So there's no extra sound at the beginning of it. So I like this okay the way it sounds. There are other effects you can play with, of course. Move these back out. I'm not going to mess with any more of these effects, except for this one. We'll do a compressor. Because the compressor kind of keeps everything. I talked about this in my last video with Soundtrap too. The compressor kind of keeps the louds from getting too loud and the softs from being too soft. So let's see what this sounds like. Let's preview it before we change anything. It's a little bit much. So let's do that. Bring the threshold down a little bit. Let's try it again. Now that we're done with all the recording of it, we'll take it so we can actually make it as a song we can listen to. So we're going to go to File. We're going to go to Export. We'll do, this isn't a video file, so we'll do that'll work. We'll hit Save. Call it whatever you want to. I'm just going to call it Jingle Bells. It's easy to find. Now what this means is that all the tracks that we have are going to be combined into one file. So that's what we want, since we're trying to export it. You can adjust this if you want to. I'm just going to adjust the title, just so I know what it is. And I'll put my name up here, because I have another one on here somewhere, which I don't think I do, but just in case. And then hit OK. It's going to export it, and that's all there is to it. So now we should be able to go back in and find our file and listen to Jingle Bells anytime we want. So that's pretty much all the basics of Audacity. There are a lot more things you can do, but we're not going to mess with any of them for this video. This is just kind of give you an idea of what you can do. If there's any part of this you need me to explain or you don't understand, just send me a comment, let me know. I'll try to help you out the best I can. But until then, I will see you later.